We're rolling. Racking up the... You can keep talking. Absolutely.
Racking up the,
Don't forget your mic, though.
Wasn't that?
Yeah.
Listeners.
So the first thing I was about to say was answer your question before. Just make sure we're still rolling here because I always seem to have issues every time I don't fucking check the recorder. But us talking right now, I love just like starting making the intro of us just fucking talking shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
You listen to a lot of other, like, whether it be how we're saying, like, mainstream stuff, whether it be, I don't know, other podcasts or just, you know, mainstream media interviews. It's always like, okay, like, look down the barrel. You've probably, like, you would know all about it. You would have had, like, media training and stuff of, like, you know, things that here's what's acceptable to probably say to the media and here's what's not acceptable.
Yeah, for sure. And we get briefed before every like interview or something we do. We get briefed like these are the talking points. If this comes up, you should say something like this. And so on.
How do you feel about that? You can obviously understand it, but at the same time, you're like, fuck's sake, like just let me say what I want.
No, I never look at it personally, but like you sort of know what's acceptable to say and what's not, and what could possibly lead to headlines, talking points.
Yeah.
Not that anything I would say would ever lead to that, probably, but like I said, I personally don't look at it.
Yeah.
So you sort of
sort
of know what's right and wrong.
Is that like a weekly thing, or is that like if you get like if they say you've got to do an interview today, they'll just like give you like a bit of a reminder sheet or something?
If you're doing an interview, say had a radio interview last week, and they're like, send me a text. These are the potential talking points from the weekend.
Yeah.
This and that. This is what we would like you to say along these lines.
Wow.
It's usually a pretty big like sort of message.
Fuck.
Like I said, talking points and that, which is interesting. Like
people are like, this is going to be the very start of the podcast, and people are like probably thinking like, fuck, what are they actually talking about? So just to give a bit of a debrief or whatever you want to call it, just before we started recording, Mason and I were talking about obviously being an elite athlete in any, whether it be in football or any other sport, in Australia nowadays, because of the tall poppy syndrome that we fucking have here, you're cut down for saying the wrong thing, but you're cut down for speaking your mind, and then people complain about the fact that you have to rattle off cliches. So there is no fucking win. Like you can't
you're fighting
win.
a losing battle, really. Yeah, that's right. I mentioned before we started, I was talking about sort of international sports, USA mainly.
Yeah.
You look at sports like, and obviously this is an individual sport, but like UFC.
Yeah.
Which they don't control anything.
It's free for all.
Which is free for all. They don't control anything.
You a UFC fan?
Yeah, massive fan.
Yeah.
I think some of the stuff they say is like really good, and some of it gets out of control. But it's it's free speech, which is kind of cool. And even you look at like basketball and NFL, they're pretty much free to say
whatever they want. Yeah.
Within sort of general guidelines. Like
yeah.
They're not going wild.
Yeah, you find because the guidelines are kind of like non-existent, the ones that are like really, really off the chain, that often creates like players often get traded around a lot of teams anyway, but those players that do just fucking sometimes go completely off the cuff, teams will like almost just like move them on.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I don't follow a lot of like NFL, but like I know like blokes like who's that one that played like I feel like maybe like Odell Beckham or something.
Yeah, maybe. Well, there was
could be
Antonio
wrong.
Brown. He was saying some pretty wild stuff.
He was like at Cleveland, then he got flung to like the Patriots, and like he
started at Pittsburgh. He was at Pittsburgh and then ran into a bit of strife there.
Yeah.
And then he was cruising around. I don't know where he is now. I think it actually worked out pretty good for him. I think he ended up at Tampa Bay and won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. It's fucked.
Yeah, it's like I think that's why in Australian sport they like don't like characters like that, because it can potentially cause like team divide and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so. And that's probably a massive one as well. I reckon. Like especially in say like in basketball, so like the NBA, it's so like superstar driven that the play, like say for example on the Lakers, like it's LeBron James's team. He fucking runs the team, even though he's a player. And like the rosters are a lot smaller. So they're like, I think on an NBA roster it's 11 to 13.
Yeah,
but then most of the nights only 7 or 8 play.
Yeah, for sure.
And the others like barely see a minute for the whole season. Whereas like on an AFL list, you have 22 in the. Is it 22 these days?
Yeah, 22. Oh, the 23 with the
medical
sub.
Yeah, so 22, 23 that are getting a gig every single week. But then also it's like 20 that are left over, 20 odd that are left over on the list, but then they filter through the weekly team often anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's fucking very interesting point.
Makes the superstars more prevalent.
Yeah.
You're able to see them more.
Yeah.
Because they're only competing on the court with 5 other guys.
Yeah.
Whereas in AFL, you look at how dominant people are. They've still got like sort of 18 other people on the ground to compete with.
Yeah.
Like in their team.
Yeah.
And the field's a lot bigger. So
yeah,
I think that's why a sport like NBA is so superstar driven. Because it's 1 out of 5 instead of 1 out of 18, or even NFL is 1 out of bloody 50 something.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
So how do you feel? I get that's probably a good question. I was going to save it like for the end, but I always end up just fucking jumping around all over the joint anyway. Yeah. I find it's more interesting. Do you have like, so you spoke about you've jumped on a few podcasts with at the footy club.
Yep.
My question to you was going to be, do you have like any interest in like, because you seem pretty like the way you're talking about like you seem passionate about like being able to be yourself and like you said, you feel like you've got a lot of good, like you feel like you could push something like a podcast of your own really well. Do you have like any interest in anything like that? Like whether it be before you finish footy or after footy, or is that like anything like the media sort of area an interest?
Yeah, for sure. I think I do, because I like talking to people. I find other people really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot about getting to the bottom of their story.
Yeah.
What sort of made them them.
You
go.
What I was going to say was like I'll get into it a little bit after, but like you and I knew each other growing up. Yep. But this is the first time we've seen each other in fucking, I don't even know how long. I couldn't be
a few years.
Definitely. And it's fucked because like you rocked up just before, and it's funny that that first topic that we sort of discussed, I just find it funny that that's the first thing we talked about, because like the way you were talking about it, I was like, fuck, like you would be very good at doing like a podcast or anything in media, because you're so like passionate and like you are your own self. Like you're not gonna, and like you said, you're interested in other people as well. And the way you can like get to know them is just by like understanding what their opinions are on random topics and stuff.
For sure. I think, well, we do like a bit of stuff at the club around like your purpose and that sort of thing. And we did like activities on, and I found like after doing those activities, I found like my purpose statement as such is to spread positivity.
Fuck.
And it's like whether I do that through talking to people or meeting people or just listening to someone.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing like that drives me as a person.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty passionate about it. I would like to do it. I'm trying to get the club to sort of get something going at the moment. I've just got to be, especially with stuff that's related to the club, not related to the club, but driven by the club.
Yeah.
Got to be careful with what avenues you go down with talking and stuff. It can be pretty, you can sort of become pretty pointy about what you can talk about and this and that. So it's it'd be interesting.
It's funny you were talking about that's what you're interested in terms of like your purpose, because so the episode I released with a mate, Jack Shepherd,
recently, very recently.
Yesterday.
Yep.
It was yesterday, yeah. I did that podcast with him last week. And that whole the whole main topic of that whole podcast was, and I titled it Discovering Our Purpose. And the whole, like, so it was only probably 2 weeks ago now. I listened to this podcast. It's called, I won't rattle on about it too much because I did in the last episode, but the podcast is called The Imperfects. Yep. It's with that Hugh Van...
Hugh Van Colenberg.
Yeah, he's the Resilience Project guy.
Yeah, he's come in and spoke at the club.
Yeah,
he's really good.
He's spoken to like fucking every AFL club.
So many people.
I think.
He's got a pretty good story. If you haven't Obviously, for anyone out there, if you haven't,
it's fucking worth it, isn't it?
I'd give him a look up for sure.
And so the episode that we were literally pretty much debriefing one of the episodes in the Imperfects podcast.
Yep.
And that was all about like discovering your purpose and everything.
Sure.
And I said, like, me and Jack we talked about it for about 40 minutes, but I literally have, like you said, like you discovered it's so worthwhile learning how to discover what your purpose actually is, because then that sets you up for pretty much like being happy and understanding like what success is to you.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, I don't know, like for example, if we were to relate it to footy, if you're like you're learning and you're teaching yourself like everything like mindfulness, understanding what your purpose is and everything, then that would really help with your on-field performance, because you're not worried about like the intrinsic outcomes and everything like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, if you know, I think, like following on from your point, I think if you know what drives you, you're able to sort of seek out that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's a lot more, to go back to your word before, extrinsic.
Yeah.
You go back to like intrinsic stuff and what drives you as a person. Take away everything else outside of you. If you know what drives you, you can obviously make you happier.
Yeah. Because you're not worried about
you know what you want to go after.
Yeah.
And seek.
And you're not worried about say for example, you've got this goal set and you're just hell bent on reaching that point. If you're not like enjoying everything in the lead up to getting to that point, once you get to that point, it's going to be like a few seconds of happiness and joy of you getting to that point, and then it's like, oh fuck, what now?
Yeah, and then
because
you have to find something else.
You're forever chasing that goal, and you're like, you're not understanding what the success is in you.
It's in the journey.
And it's like, that's so fucking cliche.
I know, yeah.
But it's like it's that for a reason,
it's true, for sure.
But until you actually understand the cliche, like that's why you understand why it's so true. And once it clicks, you're like, fuck, that is so good. And then you just want to practice. Like, I've only just started like diving into like the whole. I haven't even really dived too much into like mindfulness and everything like that. But it is so interesting, and you can understand why everyone else is so interested in it, because it helps you so much. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So the first question I usually start with: have you listened to any EPs? Any at all?
I've listened to the highlights and that sort of stuff. So.
Yeah. So the first question I always ask is, well, it's not the first question. It's about the fucking 20th question today.
Yeah.
But were you a WWE fan growing up?
Yeah,
at all?
I was.
You were?
I wasn't allowed the video game until I was like 12.
Yep. Fair enough. So did you watch that at all?
Yeah, I watched only when I went to mates' places.
Yeah,
because we didn't have like Foxtel
in the country.
So I'd go to mates' places.
Good,
and I'd watch it.
So it
was almost like a guilty pleasure,
mate. That's what I say.
Because I'd have to like sneak to people's houses, and then it's sort of like, especially now, like it felt like back then, like especially my old man was like totally against it.
Yeah, same.
Because of what it is.
It's fucking fake shit.
Yeah, it's fake, and it's like they carry on and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I'd like sneak off to mate's place. I wouldn't talk about it, and then you talk to like around the club, like talk to guys at the club, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm a massive fan of WWE. We had to like sneak around and watch it."
Yeah,
like some people are like, "Yeah, everyone used to come to our place and watch it." It's like, because I feel as though the older generation didn't understand it.
No way.
Then you talk to like almost everyone that's around our age group, and they're like, love WWE.
And that's why, so like, I literally will still watch fucking old WWE YouTube videos like to this day. I fucking love it, man. Like, it's the nostalgia involved in it is just like, fuck, that is so good.
Yeah, like Royal Rumbles and stuff. I love it.
When
The Undertaker.
So that's what I was going to ask you. So like, if you had to choose one wrestler as your favorite, like off the cuff, is that he someone you think of straight away?
Edge. I reckon Edge. He loved the spear off like the top of the ladders and
mate,
stuff.
Mate, fucking long hair. Just like when he's like in the corner, like lining up for the spear.
Yeah, I reckon Mad Monday this year I'm going to go as Edge.
Fuck.
For sure. I've got the long hair to go with it.
You fucking make sure you get plenty of photos.
Always listen to his walkout song. It's one of the greatest things of all time.
Mate.
Unbelievable.
I was talking to one of my mates, Luke, last week. We just talk about it. We'll send each other videos and shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, righto, who's your top three? And I was like, I find it so hard to do it. Like,
Oh, mate, they're
There's
all
so
great.
many, yeah.
Around the, like, sort of 2000 to 2010,
Yeah, it's the
mate, it's like,
prime era,
well,
isn't
it's
it?
prime for us, for sure,
Yeah.
but, like, lots of those guys just, like Rey Mysterio, Cena, Batista, like, you can just rattle them off. Like, you
So
just rattle them off and they're unreal.
It's like, so yeah, the reason I brought up my mate Luke and we were talking about it last week, Edge was in his top 3. And I was like, fuck that. And I'd forgotten about him a little bit, just like you were saying, because there's so many, you forget about those ones.
He was kind of a little bit fringe.
Well,
I find.
yeah.
Like, he wasn't, because he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but
he was at the same time. Like, he's not one.
You don't.
Like, lots of people, if you ask most people, they'd be like Cena, Mysterio,
Yeah.
Rock, like these types.
Yeah.
And I reckon, like, it was why I like him.
Because he was
kind of a little bit. He was like the Hardy brothers.
Yeah, mate. I had one say I had a guest, Donnie. He said Jeff Hardy. That was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes
Is he the
ago
artist,
now.
Donnie?
Donnie
Mate,
Schultz.
I looked at him off your podcast. He's fucking really inspiring. That's unbelievable what he's doing.
It's mind blowing, eh?
I was gonna hit him up on Instagram and get one of his piece of work.
Yeah.
For my house.
Yeah.
I just don't know where to put it.
Well, so he does.
I want to get something in the future.
Yeah, definitely hit him up. He does. So with all of his like old pieces that he's done now, we're still going here. Yeah, we're rolling. What am I trying to say? So the fucking ink that he uses, you don't get actually sent the original piece. You get sent like professionally photographed pictures of it, because if you
keep them.
No, well, yeah, he does, but at the same time, the main reason for it is because if he were to send you like the original piece, the pencils or the markers he uses, it fades really quickly over time. So people are always like, no, we want the original piece to him, but he's like, no, like you really don't. It'll in, I don't know, say a year's time, it'll be like, fuck, like that's disheartening. But because he gets the photos professionally done really well.
It'd be kind of cool getting both.
Yeah, I know.
You've got the original, and like this is what it used to look like. It's fading, because I reckon that's sort of like...
That is like...
That's like the art.
That's why you want... Yeah.
Like if it's fading, it's like... That's actually pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. So, and it's funny, like you say, like how you said that, like that is the art itself. What he's sort of moving in towards now, I think, and with his latest piece, is like making them NFTs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know if you know much
no
about
idea
it.
What that means.
So like NFTs.
I was just gonna agree with you.
You're just like, yeah, sick. So essentially, like make whatever he makes, make them like just make them fully digital. So then the person that owns it owns the rights and the image digitally.
Okay.
So like they can like do whatever with the piece that they want. They can like blow it up this big. They can make it small.
Okay.
And they're the only one that own the digital rights to it.
So
it's not even
like on-sell it.
It's not even Donnie that owns it anymore. It's and then people can like, because they own the rights to it, they own the NFT, the piece of art, they can then like on-sell it for however much they want.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
It's a very interesting
that's actually pretty
sort of subject. But I guess I haven't even fucking said your name yet. For everyone listening, this is Mason Redman, by the way. I want to talk about briefly how we actually know each other. So you grew up in Southend?
Yeah, Southend originally, yeah.
Southend.
Until I was 8, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then you moved to Millicent?
Yeah, moved into Millicent, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so I was trying to think, like I always think about, what the fuck because I'm obviously from Kingston. Kingston and Millicent about, 45 an hour?
Yep.
Yeah, apart from each other. So we grew up playing we're in different football leagues.
Like interleague.
But we played stuff against and then a little bit with each other.
Yeah, there was a bit with,
as well.
Sure,
yeah. But I
wouldn't even know, probably the first, you're talking about when the first time we sort of met?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, maybe because we did a lot of...
sort of like Sapsaza sort of age or
yeah,
something like
maybe. That. Or around 15, and how you were saying before, the Talented Tigers pathway and stuff.
Did that stuff. We go to Adelaide and that sort of stuff. But
always good fun, eh? That was
it was sick. Going to Adelaide, you do the testing and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like a bit nervous. It's awesome looking back on it. It's awesome looking back.
I look back on those sort of times now, and it's like fuck, because I remember it was sort of fast forwarding a bit. I was going to talk to you a bit about your childhood and stuff and what you were interested in growing up, but we can wheel back to it.
Yep.
But when we were doing, like you said, when we were doing like all the testings and stuff, I remember being there and just being like, fuck, like there was that little part in me, like even then I was like, I just don't think I'm good enough, like, and I knew like I didn't have like that edge of like, I was relatively quick, but not that quick for someone who's a little bit smaller. Yeah, and then at the same time, I'm not like fucking strong and powerful. Yeah. So I didn't even know what I was like relying on. Like I was like my skills are okay and stuff, but then I think that's why when I was attending those, like you do like the physical testing and come up here, and especially coming from this like small country towns, you come to like obviously we were in Adelaide at that time,
the big city.
It's like fuck man, literally to the big smoke, and it's like I was enjoying it so much while I was there because I was like, this might be the pinnacle. Like this genuinely might be the pinnacle. But it's interesting to look back on, like, so when you were going through, say, like, because we played it, remember that year, maybe 2015, were you playing like Glenelg 18s at that point?
Yeah, it would have been 13 or 14.
Yeah.
It would have been 2014. Oh, no, but it would have been 15. Yeah, it would have been 15. I was living down in Adelaide then.
Yeah, because that was
I played a few games,
What I was going to say was so you obviously grew up in Millicent. That's what I was going to backtrack to. Southend first.
Yep.
Grew up in Millicent, and then for your year 12.
Yeah, I moved to Adelaide in year 12.
Yep. And was that move like specifically so you could be closer to Glenelg and play for them?
Yeah, that was for football. Yeah. So I was thinking about moving down at the start of year 11.
Yeah.
Which I'm obviously glad now it's worked out that I didn't. But I was not ready to move away from home.
Yeah.
At the idea I'd get sad and shit because I was like,
well, you think about
I'm such a family person, and like my close mates at the time, I was like, and I understand it. Like my brother's sort of going through a similar thing at the moment. He's 16, and he'll have, if he wants to go well at footy, which I think he could make it.
Yeah.
Obviously you have to move out of home.
Yeah.
You have to move away.
Yeah.
And it's like you're that like. I don't know. It's like a country thing. You're loyal to your place.
100%.
It's like it's hard to move away.
Yeah.
And you see lots of people, like lots of my mates, like my good mates, have gone away, come back because it's just like that's where home is.
Yeah, 100%.
So I was not ready at the start of year 11.
Because you think because are you August as well, 97?
Yeah. Yeah.
What date are you?
26th.
I'm 29th.
Yeah.
So a few days after you. So what I was going to say was when you were year 11 and you were saying you weren't quite ready to move away, like you're only what 16 at the start. Yeah, so like fucking I think about back to when I was 16 and I'm like to now it's like what about a 7 year difference, or 7 years since then. It's like that. What's the amount that's fucking transpired in that 7 years and how much you grow? It's like you think back to like when we were playing footy together when we were 16, and you think to now what we're doing. We're in Melbourne. I'm literally we're sitting in some meeting room at my sister's apartment place. Like it's fucking random,
mate. It's so random. Yeah. Like if you said like when we were playing, you guys aren't going to see each other for 4 years or whatever it is, and then next minute you'll be doing a podcast together.
It's fucking random.
Just talking shit pretty much.
Yeah, but it's fun.
I'd be like, fuck off, mate.
You're off your head. So going back, year 11, you were thinking about moving, but you didn't. You stayed in Millicent.
I was scared shitless.
Yeah.
Did not want to move.
Were you still scared at the start of year 12?
Yeah, I was scared for sure. So I spent so my summer holidays I was training with Glenelg.
Yeah.
Down there, and I'd go up there for a couple of weeks, come home for a weekend, just to be home for a bit. And like all my mates, you would have been the same. You're back home, summer holidays, you're going mad.
Yeah.
Like it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm going into year 12. Like it's arguably at the time you're thinking this is the greatest time of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there every day. I'm just sitting at my auntie's house waiting for training. Didn't know anyone in Adelaide.
Fuck.
And it was just like I was leaving. I'd leave and I'd start crying in the car.
Wow.
I'd be like, don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And like obviously like it's the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Because if I'm still there, I'd still be there.
Yeah.
And looking back now, I'd be like, mate, fucking go in year 10, go in year 11, go in year 9.
Yeah. Well,
just go experience stuff.
Well, yeah.
Like if I had one bit of advice to anyone from back home, it'd be like, just get out for a bit.
Yeah.
Just experience some different stuff.
Well,
because it's the thing I've found, and it's the greatest part of living in the country, it's like it doesn't change that much.
Yeah.
It's like you can go out there and experience the same stuff 3 years later if you spend 3 years away. Like, I talked to my sister about it.
Yeah.
This is a little bit off topic, but she went to London, lived in London for 2 years.
Is she older or?
Yeah, she's 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
She lived in London for 2 years, and she was like, best thing she's ever done. She's like, I'd encourage anyone from home to go and like.
And it's not even about being like disloyal to where you're from or anything, but it's like completely the opposite, because then when you go back, you appreciate it so much. Like when you're home, you get to see like I've still got like my grandparents there and like cousins and aunties and uncles and stuff. When you go back for like those like special events like Christmas, or just a little bit over summer, like you fucking really enjoy your time back there.
It's still
like
home.
Yeah,
that's the thing. You go back there and you just feel comfortable instantly.
Yeah,
because it's like home.
Yeah. 100%.
And you take back all these experiences with you, and it's like, all right, now I can just settle with it and sit with these experiences. It's unreal.
Yeah. No, it's a very good point. I was actually, the last question I was going to ask you was, I literally had it written down. I don't usually follow this too much, but it was going to be, boys and girls are listening in to this from our hometown in the southeast, our hometowns in the southeast. What would be the one thing that you would say to them? That's what I had written down. So you've answered it straight up.
Yeah,
that's good.
Get out and experience things.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, for sure. So where were we at? So 2015 was your year 12 year.
Yep.
Both of our year 12 years. And I remember that's the year I probably remember you the most, in terms of, because I was still living in Kingston.
Yep, for sure.
But I was like fringe under 18 in the same team that you were in.
Yep.
But I feel like, and it's funny you say it, because like I never got offered like any fucking footy scholarships at any schools or anything like that. And you were the same. But like that commitment is so like for you to actually just do that off your own back because you wanted to be in front of the important people's faces for your footy at all times and do the best for like your career moving forward. Like looking back at it, like that is the best option hands down, because if you were to stay at home like I was, that year I was playing like, it was my first year of like A-grade footy at Kingston.
Yep, for sure.
But I was still involved in the 18s at Glenelg. Like I only played like I think 7 or 8 games for Glenelg because I was like a fringe player, but I was going back and forth between Kingston and Adelaide.
Yeah,
and
the
like,
travel gets to you. For sure.
I didn't even know you were like the only player I knew in our team, but you would have known the whole team because you trained with them every week. So like, I'd rock up and just be like, I'd know you, and then I got to know a couple of other blokes, and like everyone at that age, everyone in the team, you'd know, like they're trying to do their best, what's in their best interest.
That's why I find it hard, and it was obviously the best move I did going up there. But I played a couple of games of 18s the year before. Yeah. And I found it really hard. And 16s. The 16s one was probably the turning point for me, where I was like, if you don't know anyone, you're in strife. Yeah. Because it's like, so if I know you and I know your talent, your capabilities, this and that, I'd trust you. Yeah. Because I know you. Yeah. Whereas like all the city guys as such, because there's a bit of like,
stick there, isn't
there? When you move, like when your team, when half the team's country, half the team's city, there's like, without trying to be, there's always a little bit of like rivalry. Yeah, yeah. And it's good because it drives you, but like they're always gonna pass to themselves, and that sort of thing, because they know their teammates going to pass it back to them, and so on and so forth, and that's why it's hard to move up there. And the turning point for me was like, I need to actually, in under 16s, I was like, I'd actually need to create a relationship with these guys. So they're able to trust me and stuff. And that's sort of works as to why I moved up there. It wasn't the main reason why I moved up there, but that's sort of one of the points. And there was lots of little moments that were like key factors, driving points as to why I wanted to move to Adelaide. Yeah. And we can go into them if you would like, but like just with all the talent squads and stuff, and I knew, I sort of know, and you were speaking about it before, you had this inkling in your head that you maybe weren't good enough. Is that sort of what you were thinking? Yeah. And I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, for sure. Yeah.
And like, mate, I'd be lying if I didn't have those as well.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, at the same time, it's like, fuck it, I'm going to have a go. Like, Like it's like, it's hard in your head. There's like people talk about the little voices that speak to you. There's one saying, oh, mate, you're not good enough. Like, you're never going to be good enough. You're from Millicent. Like, what do you think? Like, and being there, like, I remember when I was young, and I don't want to ramble on too much, but remember when I was young, there's like, you'd go around saying, and like lots of people say it, it's like, I want to play AFL.
Yeah.
And like people automatically go, oh, you won't be able to make AFL, or you won't be good enough to play AFL. And it's like, at some point in my head, I was like, and there was moments that led to it. I was like, nah, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually going to have a crack at it.
Yeah.
Like, whether I make it or don't is irrelevant. I'm not going to know if I don't try.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, that was probably the main driving point
and
behind me going to Adelaide. It was like, sort of, going back to your point before, it was like a little bit.
Is that like a stone that would be left unturned if you didn't go up and give yourself the best opportunity to get picked up, essentially?
Yeah, a little bit. I feel as though I would have been at home, sitting now, probably, like, I don't want to bloody blow wind up my own ass or anything, but probably dominating local football.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to be one of those guys where it's like, oh, he could have played AFL or this and that. Like, he's won five BNFs in Millicent, but he could have left and potentially been something more.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, why not have a crack?
Give it a crack, yeah.
Give it a crack and try to be something more. If I don't, then I can come home and play, and I know I'm going to still live a good life knowing that I've tried.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't know I know why I just thought of it, but I don't know him personally. You're probably mates with him, like that Tom Hutchison.
Yeah, Tom Hutchison. Yeah, I was speaking to him yesterday. Yeah, at GWS. Yep.
So for those that don't know who he is, he still on GWS's list?
Yeah, he's still there. He's having a few injury troubles at the moment, but he's still there.
Yeah, so
it's good.
He's quite a bit older than us, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 2 years older than us.
Yeah, so
5 born.
He got picked up 2 years ago.
2 years ago. This is his second year. Yeah,
and it's fucking like it just goes on from what you were saying about like, if you think you're good enough, but you're not, turning over every stone, that last stone might be where you're situated, where you live. Like he was living in Millicent. He was living in Millicent, wasn't he? And then he was on the Crows development squad.
Yeah,
and
so he was flying up every week. Yeah.
Wow! So he was still living in Millicent and then going up to play.
He's that's a really cool story actually.
Fuck!
Like that he was able to make it from down there. Obviously, wouldn't happen. Once in a blue moon, it'd happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate, he was doing stuff, and he just like we talk about, like you're doing so well that you just can't be ignored.
Yeah. Like
that was sort of how he was doing. He was going that well, and he's like hit that point where he's just like, I'm above this level, and it's like you just know.
It's just like I've
said, know within yourself. Like he probably wouldn't say that.
What's the next?
But he's like, when they asked him, he's like, yeah, I'll give it a crack. Like, why not? Because he actually moved up in his like 18s year or maybe the year after.
Yeah.
It didn't work out.
Yeah.
He was like, and so he moved home and that, but I think there was still sort of that little spark in his head. He's like, maybe I can.
Something, yeah. And it's interesting because there's been a few of those stories over like probably the last sort of 10 to 15, well, from what I remember anyway, the last 10 to 15 years of like, like mature age recruits and stuff like that. And you see them get picked up, and then because they're so much more mature, when they do eventually crack in the side, they just seem to just slot in so nicely because they're already mature. And it's fun. Sure. Yeah, it's very interesting to see happen. So, what I was going to say next was, 2015, 18s for Glenelg, and did you play a few league games as well?
Yeah, I started the year in the 18s.
Yeah.
And then played most of the year in reserves and was off for a bit with state duties.
Yeah.
And then played a couple of league games horribly.
Yeah.
But had a taste of it, which was good.
Yeah.
And then, finished the year, had one 18s game at the end of the year in the finals, and then finished in reserves. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So going into the back, that's probably one of the main questions I wanted to ask you about that time in your sort of career. Were you like, so before the draft, so the draft's always in November, isn't it?
Yep.
End of November.
Usually, last week in November, yeah.
Did you have what was the were you considered like a draft bolter? I can't fucking remember.
Well, you could say that. Well, I wasn't. Nobody knew who I was at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And then I went in the second round. So you could say I'm a bolter of such.
So you were pick number 30,
yep.
2015. In sort of, I guess the back half of that year, so the end of the season, and then leading into the draft that year, were you like, did you think you were going to get picked up?
Yeah, I sort of.
You had a good clue.
Yeah,
like,
I had a good idea that I was going to get picked up. I got a once I moved down at the start of the year and started getting involved heavily in the Glenelg sort of system.
Yeah,
I got a manager.
Yeah.
Which is just weird at the time.
Yeah,
but yeah, got a manager, and then he was pretty open with me. He's like he was pretty much saying that I was going to get drafted.
Yeah.
When then obviously I knew that I was. So
yeah.
Yeah, but probably it wasn't until the sort of the back half of the year when you start having interviews and that sort of thing, and they start stacking up. It's like, yeah, I'm a massive chance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
You never know completely because there's those stories. And it's like, there's guys that I played with that were potentially the year before were touted as like
top
first round draft picks and then didn't get picked up. So it's like, mate, like
it's never a sure thing.
Yeah, never ever know.
It's interesting because I remember that year specifically, and like as we sort of were playing interleague together and whatever, my memory of you playing as a junior was always the fact that you were like very you would just run so fucking hard all day. Yeah. And like you were never the quickest, and I'm sure you wouldn't mind me saying this. Yeah. Like you were never probably the most skillful on the ground or anything. Not. But like you were just so fucking hard at it at all times that like you were saying before, it's the same concept of like you just keep fucking like bashing on the door until like you just pretty much until you win.
Yeah,
and
well,
like
there was sort of moments. You finished.
What I was going to say was like when you were speaking to clubs before you were drafted and everything, is that something that they said to you was that they saw as your strength, or was there something else that they picked you up on?
That was definitely my strength.
Yeah,
that was sort of the thing. I was happy with them saying that because that was the thing that I prided myself on.
Yeah,
and it was driven by when I was in my younger teen years, not getting picked in sides and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think that was what drove it mainly. And I was like nobody really knew what I was doing at the time, but when I was living in the southeast, I was working with a guy in the off season doing running programs and stuff as a 14, 15-year-old, and like I don't know. I would like to think that, not like to think, but I pretty much know that not many people are doing that. Age, where we're from.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, mate, if you're in the off season of footy, you're not thinking about footy. You're just doing whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas I was like, there was a specific moment I was 15 and we played interleague at Narracourt.
Yeah. Dude, I literally had that in my head. It was when I remember it being at Narracourt.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know what you're about to say. Can I guess?
Yeah, you can.
I remember you being out there playing, and I was always like KNTFL because that was my league, and you were always like Western Border.
Yep.
And when you came and played in that, when we played in that carnival or whatever,
carnival.
Before that, you were never a standout or anything. But I remember playing against you in one game, and it was like, holy fuck, like you did not stop running. And is that what you were about to say in terms of like the training that you'd done? You'd worked so hard at that age that you all of a sudden just like accelerated past everyone else?
I think the work rate, because like you said, I wasn't the most talented, wasn't the most skillful, this and that.
Yeah.
But I was like, the thing I was always going to try to hold my hat on was I'm going to be the most hardworking.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, I did that, and I remember the tournament you're talking about.
Yeah.
We played, it was under 17s tournament, interleague tournament.
Yeah.
And obviously Glenelg team gets picked out of that to go to Adelaide for the country carnival thing.
Yeah.
And I was bottom age.
Yeah.
And I got, this sounds a bit wanky, but I got best on in the tournament for my team, for Western Border as a bottom ager.
Mm-hmm. I recall.
And I didn't get picked in the team.
Wow.
And so like it made me think. I was like, I think that can be a turning point for some people. That can be like, you're like, fuck, I'm never going to get noticed. Oh, I'm just going to go back and just fuck around, like not try as much or whatever. Or it's like, and this is the way I took it. I was like, nah, fuck these guys. I should have been in that team.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show them over the next however long that I should have been in that team. That's bullshit that I didn't get picked.
Yeah.
And it made me think that they just had the team picked before we went there.
Oh, 100%.
And I was fucking fuming. I was in the car and I was just like at Dad. Dad, obviously a major supporter of myself.
Yeah.
Because he's my dad.
Yeah.
And he's pretty honest. Like if I went shit, he'd tell me I went shit.
Yeah.
And if I went good, he's usually like tells me that I go good. So it's like,
yeah.
And we were both in the car just like fuming. Like we were driving back to Millicent.
Funny looking back now.
Drive back to Millicent. We're like, nah, fuck these. I was like, if they're not going to listen to me, I'm going to go play tack up. Play for Ballarat tack up.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
yeah.
And that's like pretty heavy saying. It's like, fuck on hell.
Yeah.
I ended up like,
but it's
I got drafted because
different point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I was like, if that didn't happen, like if I did get picked in that team, I may not be here now.
The pathway might have been different.
Because that was me getting turned down, and I was like, and in my head, I was like, nah.
Yeah.
Like, I deserve to be in that team. I should be in that team.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I went and played the senior version of that. Like I played senior interleague as a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And then played the country carnival.
You played like the zone?
The zone country carnival in South Australia.
In like the Riverland or something?
In Kadina. On the York Peninsula.
Yeah, I recall
and I went
that.
And played that. And then Glenelg wanted me to play the same carnival that I missed out on the year before.
Right.
The week after. And
Wow.
I told them to stick it up their ass. I was like, I'm not playing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm playing a level above this now. Like,
yeah.
Like,
fuck.
you're going to have to come to me with more than that.
Yeah.
And then that, like, me doing that and stuff was sort of a bit of a fuck you for the year before.
That's a power move though.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. But it was sort of like, and there's all these like, and this is why I like, it's interesting me looking at juniors when I go back and watch juniors now.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's so many different points in your junior career, like from 13 to 17, where you have choices.
Yeah.
You have like, and this is like going down a bit of a cliche path, you have doors to open.
Yeah.
It's like, will I like knock on this door and get turned away? Will I go to the next door, or will I just turn back and go back and sit down?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm going to go to the next door and fucking bash it down.
Yeah.
It's like, why not?
Yeah. It's
go have a crack at it.
Nah, it's very, and that's why like as soon as I knew I wanted to come, a month and a half ago, I knew I wanted to come over to Melbourne and like speak to people, when you were literally one of the first ones I thought of, not because I just knew you, but because your story isn't necessarily, you were like the best junior growing up. You just sort of waltzed into the AFL. Like your story and your pathway to actually getting to the point of where you're at now has been like so mirrored of the way that you actually play footy in terms of like work rate and everything. And it's a credit to you, man. It's very interesting. So 2016 was your first year at the club.
Yep.
Which I can imagine fucking would, for a new draftee, that's a crazy time anyway. But you got picked up by Essendon.
Yep.
And at that point in time, that was just after like the saga and the suspensions had been fucking like handed out. And from there, you played, how many, did you play like a handful?
3 games.
You played
3 games in my first year.
Three games in your first year. And what was that experience like? Like, because obviously, probably like a quarter of the list at Essendon the year before had been suspended for the year. So you got the club got a lot of obviously top up players and everything. Can you sort of briefly go over like what that experience was sort of like in it being your first year? Like, did it feel sort of like unsteady at all, or did you always feel really supported? Like, was it? Yeah. How would you explain it?
The club's really good at and was really good at supporting us guys coming in.
Yeah.
There was a lot of us guys coming in. Plus, there was a lot of top up players, so there was a lot of support going on because there was so many new people.
Yeah.
And when I got to the club, I think there was 8 other guys that were drafted with me that year, which is a lot for a team.
Yeah.
And we got in, trained with the guys, the whole team. Nobody had been suspended at this stage until we went to Christmas break. Christmas break, sweet. Get back for Christmas break. The first week back on the Friday, I'm going to say. It was, Thursday or day off. I think it was Friday morning. They told us to come in. The ruling was getting handed down.
Yeah.
And we found out that these 10 guys, I think at that stage.
That was still at the club.
Maybe 11 or 12.
Yeah.
I know, something like that.
Yeah.
10 to 12 players aren't going to be playing with us for the year.
Yeah.
And they're all senior guys. Like, it's not like you're taking out your bottom 10 or 12.
Yeah.
You're taking out
it's
your top 10 or
your
12.
core. Yeah. Fuck, man.
It's like at the start, because I'd never been on a list. Like say if I'd been in there for a year, I would have realised probably the enormity of
the impact. Yeah.
At the time, it's like, oh fuck, and a bit naive of me at the time. It's like you can't help but think it's like, oh, there's going to be more opportunities though.
Yeah, yeah.
Between that, you're that sad, and well, not sad, but just flat that these guys aren't, and you're not going to be able to learn off them, and they're not going to be able to play for a year, and this and that. But in the same token, and it's a bit selfish to think like this. And I probably wouldn't think like this nowadays. But at the time when you're coming in, you're like, and you're cutting your teeth, you're like,
that's a spot.
Give me there's 10 spots.
Yeah.
It gives you an opportunity.
Yeah. But I feel like of course you're going to have that.
Yeah,
that's going to be your way of thinking now, that way.
Everyone coming in would be lying if they didn't say that.
Yeah.
It's like at the start, if you're on the edge and someone gets injured, and probably it's the wrong way of thinking, but when someone got injured, you'd be like, oh, that could be me. I could be going in.
Yeah.
Where instead of no, I'm going to be out work and get better.
Yeah.
And then so they have to put me in instead of someone getting injured or
yeah.
But it was pretty wild going in your first year. I didn't understand the magnitude of it. It was sort of like, whoa,
it's a fucking just an absolute whirlwind.
And then the year followed, and obviously that's also followed up with thoughts like, oh, we're just going to be crap.
And that's not what you want. That's
weird. It's like
that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I fucking obviously all of that shit's in the past now. It's fucking irrelevant. But it's the position of you going in as a first year in that point in time. You're one of how many other people got drafted in your draft?
8, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so you're one of 8.
Yeah.
People to have ever experienced of what that in the world of what that was like. And I don't know if you've ever put much thought into that, but it's a pretty interesting situation.
Yeah, for sure.
No one else, only you 8 people can completely understand what that was like and what you had to go through and everything. So there's a trend going on in your career, in terms of not things going wrong, but things just being really, really hard to get.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it keeps you driving.
Yeah,
keeps you
100%.
You were leading towards.
No, 100%. Yeah, and there's just even more of a reason to when you do then succeed, how much sweeter it's actually going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so just to sort of fast track. So 2016, that was your debut year. You played 3 games, and then 2016, did you not play at all?
So I played. Yeah, 2016 I played 3 games. Yeah, I know where you're going.
Yeah.
And I got to the last game in that year. It was round 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Against St Kilda. I had 2 touches.
Yeah.
And a $1,000 fine. And I was like, I'm not up to AFL standard.
Yeah.
I got dropped and I was like, yeah, so I should.
Fair share,
It wasn't like I went in and I was like, because when you first get picked, you're like, or if you're not getting picked at the start of your first year, or even up until you get picked, you're like, because you don't know the standard, you don't know the level, you're like, I should be getting picked. I should be playing.
Yeah.
Why aren't I doing this? Why aren't I doing it? Because you want everything now.
Yeah.
You're like, it's now. You just want to get to that level straight away.
Yeah.
And so I got there in that year. Debuted, went okay.
Yeah.
Next game, went down a bit, kicked my first goal, loved it. Next game, it was sort of like the stars and everything had worn off. It's like, all right, now it's actually business time.
Yeah.
And I had 2 touches and a $1,000 fine, and it's like, I'm not up the fucking standard here. maybe I'm not made out for this. And I got dropped, and I was like, it was, and looking back on it, it was awesome to know, to experience that. And as bad as that game was, and I went off the ground feeling embarrassed, I was like,
yeah.
I've let everyone down. I've let my family down.
Fuck.
In this, it just goes through your head, and it's like,
yeah.
But it was awesome at the same time. Looking back on it, if I didn't get those 3 games, it's like I never would have known that I wasn't up to the standard. And because then you know what you're striving for. You know the level that you need to get to.
Yeah. It puts a lot of context in it.
2017, didn't play the whole year.
Yeah.
And which was fine. But because I was just working hard, I was like, they're going to give me a go, and I have honest chats with the coaches. It's like they're going to give me a go when they think I'm ready.
Yeah.
And it's not even sort of when they think I'm ready. It's like when they're looking at me and they know that I know I'm ready.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I knew I wasn't ready. And the next year I was like, knocking the door down a bit, but not bashing it down. I was like, I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
And then the next year I was like, if they give me a go now in 2018, I was like, I'm ready. Like,
yeah. Fuck, that's good.
And it's like,
well,
you just keep working.
It put like, because you were able to, things were putting like, I guess, context for you. And like you said, once you understand, until you actually get a proper practical understanding of something, it's the same with fucking anything in life. Whatever you're doing, you get thrown in the deep end. That's the best way to do it. And like
100%.
And I guess it's obviously a completely different realm to football and sport in general, but like it's all correlated. Like everything that me and Harry are doing, like with our clothing and fucking me doing this podcast and stuff. Like this is episode 11 now, I think. And I think back to like the first episode, and it was just like me, Harry, and one of our mates still just in our lounge room.
You're probably thinking like, what?
And
the
you're
hell
like,
are we
what
doing?
the fuck? Like literally, like looking down at the quarter, like fuck. I think that's like how you work it and shit. Like the fucking microphones plugged in and stuff. But like getting thrown into the deep end, like me coming here to Melbourne, like I've obviously been to Melbourne and stuff before, but like, and it's the whole like I guess motto of the show. Like I said it yesterday when I spoke to a few like the boys down at the Snake Hole, like. Getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. That's the whole like motto of the show in whatever you do. Because like as soon as you're uncomfortable, you can like once you're going through those moments of like being uncomfortable, and then you come out the other side and you've got all these new experiences. And like you're saying with your first 3 games of footy,
yep.
Even if they don't go as you'd hoped, you then know where the bar's at,
you can learn from
and you can learn from it.
Sure.
Like there's never a fucking an experience that's just like, oh, that should not have happened, because like the reason it's happening is so it can actually show you where you need to be at in whatever you do.
It depends how you look at those experiences too.
Yeah,
you can look at them the other way and be like, nah, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
this and that, and like it makes you go the other way.
Yeah,
or it's like, nah, like this is here, and I'm going to learn from it and grow.
It's a very interesting sort of like mind frame, and I feel sort of fortunate, and I feel like you're obviously in the exact same boat of like, not everyone is that way inclined. Like a lot of people go that way of like, oh fuck, this bad thing has happened to me. So now like because of my where my mindset is at, I'm gonna say like, or just give up sort of thing. Yeah,
for sure. I think, and it's pretty topical at the moment with. Lots of in sport, everyone talking about the mental side of sport now.
Yeah, and
that's a huge part of it now. And it's sort of that, and like people take it into their everyday life. Like lots of people are reading these self-help books and that sort of stuff, and it's all about like growth mindset.
Yeah, it's
like which way are you going to look at it? You're going to look to stuff with a mindset that you want to grow from that, and what can you take from it to grow. And I could be saying the wrong thing about what that is.
Yeah.
Like I haven't read into it too much, but I think I know what it means.
Well, what I was going to say to you is like, so at the club, do you have like a mindfulness coach?
Well, we've got a sports psych.
A psych, yeah.
Reed, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
he's a sports psych, so he goes into all that sort of stuff. We do.
Is that like a weekly thing?
Techniques, yeah.
That's fucking so sick.
Yeah, it's awesome. He's around flat out.
That's wicked. And
he's very experienced too. He's done work with like international cricket. He goes over and works with an IPL team.
And you can go talk
Chennai.
You can go talk to him whenever you want.
His office is at the club. You just go speak to him whenever. So
wow, that's so good. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because like, I mean, I'm kind of just assuming this, but like at the AFL level now, comparing that to say like 10 to 15 years ago, there probably never would have been like a sports psych at the club.
Obviously, I wasn't there either, but I don't think there would have been.
Yeah, yeah. And like how far it's come now. And we're always like, you're always told as a kid growing up and stuff, playing footy, that like it's fucking 80% mental, 20% physical. And like I was going to ask you about like, so from your journey of say when you got drafted to where you're at now, so how many years?
This is my 6th year.
This is your 6th year at the club on an AFL list. How like, what has your mental health journey sort of been like? Like, have you ever gone through patches of like being sort of feeling down about performance and just being stressed in the environment and stuff? Like, have you sort of gone? If you look back at it, have you gone through like sort of peaks and valleys and stuff? Or
no, I would say, well, yeah, obviously, but I would say mine's not sort of peaks and troughs. It was sort of like a general. Not general. What word am I after? Gradual,
gradual,
incline.
yeah.
And I was like like was still just like flatlining with my mental stuff.
You were just not
feeling
just
good. Like,
felt normal. That's all you
felt
knew.
good. Like,
yeah.
Obviously, footy was there. Like life outside of footy was going well.
Yeah.
Probably last year, and I've been pretty open with speaking about this with anyone who's ever asked.
Yeah.
Like last year was the first time in my life that I like sort of struggled inside of football and outside of football.
Yeah.
And it's like partly to do with the hubs, partly to do with my body, and partly to do with how I handled it.
Yeah.
Like now that I've experienced it, if I went through the exact same situation again, I would be way better equipped to handle it and handle it so much differently.
Yeah.
But then like with some people speak about like a perfect storm. It was like those three things added up.
Yeah.
And it was just on the decline. Like, and by the end of the year, I didn't want to play footy.
Yeah, right.
It was the first time in my life wasn't enjoying playing football. Didn't want to rock up and play because I felt like I was letting people down going out there.
Yeah.
I was letting myself down. Like,
yeah.
And I just wasn't enjoying it. And I was always of the, like, dad's always been of the, he's always drilled into me, don't do something if you don't enjoy it. It's like, whatever that is. And I wasn't enjoying football. So I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Come to a like real crossroads of like, like you said, if it's drilled into you, like if it's not making you happy, don't fucking do it.
Yeah. But that was sort of the thing. It was sort of like, why am I doing it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be doing it. And it's like, obviously, then if I pulled the pin and like you get out of there, then in the same breath, you're letting your teammates down.
And it's like,
which
what
is
if?
Like going against what I'm about, which is spreading positivity. It's like, that's negative. Like,
yeah.
And so it's just like having this like back and forth battle with yourself.
Fuck.
And like, I wasn't talking about it either.
Yeah.
So I was like, it got to a point where I was like, stuff obviously wasn't going right with my football. I was playing crap.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't enjoying it. Wasn't feeling good. I didn't think it was that bad. And I would never like say that it's not, like it's obviously a mental health issue, but I've never had like ongoing problems and stuff like that. It was sort of like, and I went to the sports psych, Reedy.
Yeah.
And we started talking about it. And this is when I was like, fuck, I actually need to do something about it.
Mm.
I sort of started to, and we had this like lake thing where we were staying up in Maroochydore. And I was walking around the lake.
This is when you're in the hub?
Yeah, this is up in the hub. This is like maybe like 4 or 5 weeks to go in the year.
Yeah.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
And we're walking around this lake at the resort, and I started talking about it. And because it means so much to me, I just lost it.
Yeah. I
started crying, like bawling.
Yeah.
And I got back and we would like, mate, for like 40 minutes, he was just standing with me like, this is why it was unreal. He was like standing with me, like wasn't forcing me to say anything, wasn't saying anything to me. He was just there.
Yeah.
He was just like, and I was like trying to speak and I fucking couldn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on? Like, I've never been like this in my life.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was just sort of like, I actually need to start talking about it. And I wasn't necessarily like a massive, like with connection. Like with my family, close friends, like every day coming home from the club, I'll ring them, like someone, ring these people, ring that person. And it's like, I wasn't doing that. So I was like going away from what helps me. Yeah. And like with my mental health, this is obviously an ongoing thing. Like anyone who understands it in the slightest would know that it's an ongoing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I went away from that, and like that would be the biggest thing. I wouldn't go away from what helps me be able to be me on a daily basis. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like you were saying, like having someone like Reedy there just to be with you, and like you said, they're not there to like, as soon as you sort of open up to them, they're not there to immediately be like, oh, here's what you got to do to fix it. Like they're literally there just to listen and like, I imagine like gradually and slowly implement and really discover and unpack what it is that's like changed your way of thinking and the way you feel.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And he like obviously it helps with him being a sports psychologist. Like he knew like the ways to combat what I was going through and that sort of thing. It probably wasn't the first time that he's seen that exact thing, and there might have been actually I know that there was other people going through similar experiences at the same time. Yeah. So it's like he knew how to handle it. and he was able to sort of guide me through it and coach me through it, which is sort of, I guess, what he's there to do in a way.
Yeah.
Like, apart from the on-field stuff, he's also there to support you off-field.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was unreal. And I credit him heaps for sort of helping me out and sort of letting me discover it as well.
Yeah, he's just there just to like
He sort
to
of
guide
just guides you. Yeah.
And
So it was, looking back, I'm a much sort of, I understand myself a lot more from going through that.
Yeah, and I guess it's an interesting sort of pattern because 2019 you had a good season, didn't you?
Yep.
It was like, I mean, in terms of like your performance and everything. So
yeah, for sure.
Did you win like most improved?
Yeah,
I remember
most
seeing
improved at the Bombers. Yeah.
Most improved at the Bombers in 2019, and then like you said, 2020. Fucked year, how interrupted it was. You're up in the hubs. A lot of things in your life and your lifestyle obviously would have changed.
Yep.
And like you said, towards the back end of 2020, so last year, you just started discovering, I guess, what makes you or what drives you, and like you said, your purpose of like, what did you say your purpose was that you've discovered?
Spreading positivity.
So spreading positivity, and it's so like. You probably would have looked at it now. So now that you feel like you're in a good position off field, after your poor performing year on field in 2020, 2021 so far has probably been your best year on field.
Yeah, I would
you say?
Yeah, for sure.
And what round are we now? 14, 15?
17.
Fuck, are we?
17, yeah.
Holy shit. So, fuck, that's crazy.
I think it was just around 17, yeah.
Yeah, so it's...
16.
Would you say that you sort of credit you sort of getting back on track off field and your mentality a lot to you performing?
Yeah, definitely.
This year? Yeah,
definitely. I think I was able to, once the year finished, I was able to identify obviously with Reedy and the coaches at the club and within myself.
Yeah.
Where I went wrong.
Yeah.
And once you know where you went wrong or you're going wrong, like once you discover that, you're able to fix it.
Yeah.
And you're able to put plans in place to try to fix it.
And it's like when you could probably relate it then back to after your first year of playing three games. You essentially discovered you weren't ready for it, but then in 2017 you sort of cut your teeth in the VFL and understood what you needed to get better at and everything.
For sure.
Come back 2018, 19, played well, and then you've gone down in more of like a valley.
Yep.
And then you've rediscovered it again. It's like you said, it's like a constant.
You just got to keep figuring yourself out.
Yeah.
It's like, just a continual journey. And you're trying to figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
And you just keep figuring it out. That's why nobody ever clocks it.
Yeah. It's all,
Footy, buddy, job, life, whatever. Nobody ever clocks it. They're just continually on it, just learning and growing.
And when you discover that, it's like, fuck, that's what is exciting about it, I reckon. Because then once you actually get in a position where you learn, like, okay, I'm down a bit, but you know you're going to come back up, and that's what makes it so much better.
Yeah,
because
you're
you have been
definitely.
down.
You work hard, and that's what makes the victories a lot sweeter.
Exactly. And so 50, I could be wrong. Is it how many in the 50s? How many games you've played now?
I actually don't know. Maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, 53, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
2019 most. I had these written down. 2019 most improved. You're spotting the team right now is solid, you would say.
Yeah, I'd feel like that, yeah.
You're across half back?
Yep, half back, yeah.
You're coming through with like a really talented young core. Like a lot, probably blokes that are quite a bit younger than you now. A new 2-year deal, literally like last...
a couple of weeks ago.
Yep. Year 6 at the club. What would you say that the club sort of means to you now? Like, that's a pretty big period of your life. Like, looking at it, everything that you've been through, like, and obviously you've signed a new deal.
Yep.
Has there always, like, throughout the whole way, have you always just been like, fuck, like, this is the club for me? Have they made you? Have they made you feel like, or have your experiences in the last 6 years have just made you feel like, fuck, this is for me? Or has there ever been like times where you're like, fuck, like maybe like this isn't the right fit and stuff? You have just signed a new deal for 2 years, obviously, by the way. So now you're like, obviously,
I think it's like, it's always, as soon as I walked in the club, it was, all right, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Like I was Obviously, you get a bit like you're just like in awe at the start.
Yeah.
And you're like you start feeling comfortable. And by now, like it's my 6th year, mate, it's like home for me. It's like big family.
Yeah.
Like and the the connection we're building at the club and it is like a big family now. It's like we've done lots of work on building that connection and stuff. It's like, and I would say one of my biggest strengths is loyalty. Like, with the club, I've never really felt like I've wanted to leave.
Yeah.
Even when stuff wasn't going as good, never really crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's very exciting at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, not only the talent that we've got on our list, with like some of the younger guys coming through that we've got on our list, older guys as well. Not only with the talent, but just the connection, and it's like everyone just going for the same goal, and like doing it together. It's like we've got this group now, and we're pretty young.
Yeah,
and we're like doing all right. And it's like if we keep sticking at this, personally, I feel like something special is gonna happen. Obviously, you don't know that, and but you got to believe comes into that. But yeah, I think as a group, we all think that. Like it's like if we keep working hard, and it's like it's such a good time to be at the club. It's like we've sort of figured out that not figured it out, but we know that if we keep working hard, we're looking and we're like
it's gonna
something could happen.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because without sort of rambling on too much about this topic, but that goes for saying in fucking anything that you do when you're in a team. And so for example, so I'm playing back home for Kingston at the moment. That the club hasn't played finals in 12 years, but for the last 2 or 3 years since I've gone back and a few other ex-locals and we've recruited well and stuff. Once you develop a core of good, actually good people and everyone that gets along well enough, and then you actually start to see the benefits on field and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously,
if everyone wants to be there and they've got that care around them and,
this isn't
that sort of thing.
This is an amateur level, but it's the exact. It filters down. It's the exact same. So you look at AFL clubs and how much care they take in team chemistry, and actually it starts from the fucking people that aren't even playing on field at the club. Everything that's going on well in the in the office then translates well to the playing group, et cetera, et cetera. So
definitely.
Yeah, it's very interesting. A fucking premiership team isn't just going to get slapped together in December, or whenever the trade period is, and then the next year, just because they've got a couple of guns, they don't just win a flag.
Yeah,
it's built up over time, and you're saying, it's pretty exciting to be a part of. So
you just keep putting the building blocks together.
Yeah,
it's and then when you do reach that level, you look at as an example, you look at Richmond now. They spent a few years building it up.
Yeah.
And by the time they got there, their building as such was strong. So it's you can't just knock them over straight away.
Yeah, the foundation's already there. Yeah.
Them, flash in the pan teams that win a flag here or win a flag there.
Yeah.
And never really do anything else.
Yeah.
But then there'll be the teams that continually stay at the top.
Yeah.
Because they've put them building blocks in place.
Yeah.
The foundations.
Yeah.
And then so anything can come in and it's just doesn't knock them off course. They're no, this is our course. We're sticking to it.
Yeah, 100%. I reckon, how long have we been going for, man?
I don't know.
About an hour on the dot, I reckon. What was the last thing I was going to ask you? It was good too. Oh, that's right. Do you have anything I sort of asked you the question before and we were talking about your interest in a little bit of an interest in podcasting and media and stuff, and is there anything, at the moment, are you working on something, anything outside of your football at all? Are you studying it all? Do you have interests that you haven't necessarily tapped into yet? Or is there something that you sort of...
Well, I study a little bit. It's a very loose term.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
I know all about that, mate. Don't worry. It took me about 5 years to study.
Probably not really studying, to be honest. I've done a few subjects of a business and economics bachelor at uni.
Yeah.
But going back to the thing that Dad said to me before, I'm not enjoying it, so I don't really.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
buying into it or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of thinking of other things, but I know one thing I want to do is get my pilot's license.
Yep.
My pa back home flies, and that's always been an interest of mine.
I think I knew that. I don't know how I knew that.
Yeah, so that's always been of interest of mine.
Yeah.
So I want to do that. But outside footy, like, and it goes back to my purpose. It's like I want to spread that positivity.
Yeah.
Like I keep harping on about it, but that's what I want to do. So whether I think whatever drives me outside of football will be something
In that
that's
realm.
helping people
Yeah.
in some way, hopefully.
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't always work out, but I'd like to be doing stuff that helps people, whether that's something like this, whether that's, I don't know, like
That's what I was going to say.
the fireys have sort of interested me a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Could be anything. Could be working with charities. Could be anything. Like
That's the
I'm hoping, like by the time I finish football, I've set myself up and I've well enough that I don't have to work
immediately.
Oh,
sort
not
of thing?
immediately, but work like to get the grind and work for money.
Yeah.
This. I want to be in a spot where I can do something that I love.
Yeah. 100%.
And well, as of now, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping like I'll keep figuring it out as I go along. Keep playing good footy, and it keeps me in the system for a while. I've got a little while to figure it out.
Yeah. 100%.
I'm hoping by the end, then I'm in a good enough place that I've got time to figure it out and got time to go into something that I love and dabble in this, dabble in that.
Yeah.
And because like at the end of school, it's like it's funny at the end of school, your teacher's like, "Oh, what do you want to do after school?"
Yeah.
And you got to rack your brain. You're like,
It's
what
fucked.
the hell do I want to do? I'm
It's
like,
fucked.
I want to do this, I want to do that, and nobody knows, man.
Yeah. It's the stupidest
If you know
question
at
in the
18,
world.
you're like, fucking good on ya.
But
like most people don't.
yeah, like
Like you're putting in your preferences for uni, and I was putting in my preferences for uni, and everything. It was like not one thing was related, so I had no idea. So if I don't make footy, because that was what I really wanted to do. If I don't make footy, I'm like, fuck,
that's
what
gonna
do
be
I do?
shit.
I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, and I would have been like, you said you studied for 5 years. It was probably what'd you do?
Well, so it was a sport health
started
degree, but I went straight out of school. It was 2016, started, and then I ended up like deferring for a bit, which is the fucking best decision ever. It looked like, I think I might have said this on the potty before, but I'll say it again. Like I could not encourage any more of like, once you finish school, just go have a fucking break. Like, don't study. Like, it's having that break to actually, you don't even know who you fucking are. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you don't really know what your interests are.
Yeah, that's
you
exactly
do not
right.
really know.
And that goes back to what we were speaking about at the start. Go out and get those experiences. Learn a bit about yourself.
Yeah.
And then figure out what you want to do.
100%, because you're going to learn from, like you said, you're going to learn from the experiences more than what you just think you might like because it looks cool or
that's right.
whatever your friends are doing and shit. So we better wrap it up there, mate. Thank you very much for coming. It's been a fucking pleasure. We'll hopefully I don't keep you too long. You got to drive back to, what way are you going? West?
Mooney Ponds up north.
Very nice. How was the drive? 30 minutes?
Sweet as.
Perfect.
Sweet as.
Hopefully there's not as much traffic on the way home.
Hopefully it's not 4 years between seeing each
Yeah, I
other
know.
again.
Literally,
Have to catch up for a beer or something.
that, but also I might be here for the next fucking week because of like all the COVID shit. So it wouldn't be the worst thing to happen. Yeah, literally. All right,
If you
mate.
stay, we'll be doing it for sure.
Hopefully. Thank you very much, mate. Enjoyed it.